Hi everyone, I'm David Farmer and welcome to my channel, Effortless Being. So I'm sorry it's taken a wee while to post another video. I've had some personal issues that I've been dealing with the last couple of months. But I'm back now and I was inspired to make this particular video because of a conversation I was having with somebody the other day. Somebody contacted me for a non-dual pointing session, and somebody that I've been working with for quite a while, they recognized their true nature last year and have been having some questions, some issues have been arising as regards to integration. And the main question that this person asked me was very interesting, because I'm sure it's relevant to many of you. And the question was, why am I not calm and peaceful all the time? So having recognized one's true nature, why am I not calm and peaceful all the time? So in actual fact, you are calm and peaceful all the time. If it wasn't for the fact that you are calm and peaceful, you would not perceive the flux and flow of the world. So the issue is just really one of identification. Even after self-realization, the habitual tendency to identify as an individual person is still there. And it's kind of like a gravitational pull that we haven't quite got through. And we're just keep sometimes getting pulled back into this feeling or knowing ourselves to be a person. But as I said, if it wasn't for the fact that you were calm and peaceful, you wouldn't recognize or perceive anything. Because what you are in your true nature is this never-changing basis for the ever-changing world to be perceived. Because you are never-changing, you're able to perceive the ever-changing contents, which are your own contents, which you are projecting as consciousness. So the question is not really, why am I not calm and peaceful all the time? The question is really, why is the human experience not calm and peaceful all the time? So let me answer that with another question. Why should it be? Why should the human experience be calm and peaceful all the time? You see, one of the issues is, and particularly if you've been spiritually seeking for a long time, we look to others who, let's say, other teachers or gurus, and they appear to be all calm and peaceful. But you have to remember, you're only really getting a snippet of their lives. That snippet of their life that you see on YouTube. So, same in my case, I'm not being hypocritical at all. Like, there's times when I get really frustrated. Or something might make me angry. But the snippet you see is this happy, smiley David. But that's not what I'm like all the time. And why should it be? I'm having a human experience, same as you are. And the same as all these other gurus or teachers or whatever you see on YouTube. You're only seeing a snippet, a part. And that is usually when they're teaching or they're talking about something to do with spirituality. So when we believe that, then they're always this sort of peacefully tranquil, and it sets up a kind of a false expectation. Now, that's not to say that your life will not become more in alignment with your true nature upon its realization. Of course it will. But a lot of the turbulence, a lot of that turbulence is due to the false identification as a separate person. That is the sole cause of suffering, is the belief in being separate. When that belief in being separate evaporates and is seen through, then the whole human experience comes into alignment with that knowing, with that deeper knowing. So yes, a lot of the turbulence and things falls down, but it falls away. But that doesn't stop you being human. We're still having a human experience, and that human experience is part of nature. And being part of nature, it is in flux. It is in flow. And it's flowing and fluxing this way and that way and this way. So a good analogy for this, and it's one that's used a lot in non-duality, is the metaphor of the wave and the ocean. Now, there's many ways we can talk about this metaphor, and we can explain it in different ways depending on what question one is trying to answer. But in this case, if we're talking about the wave and the ocean is doing what it does. It's moving. And the ocean creates waves, and there's this waves come up and waves go down, and there can be big waves and little waves. And these waves we can take for the apparent appearance of a human experience. And that human experience is, of course, not separate from the ocean. It's a belief the belief in thinking you're a wave, and there are lots of other waves. And if you believe yourself as being a wave, you will see other waves, and you will believe that everything's separate. But the issue is that the identification. So you're not the wave. You're the ocean. But knowing that you're the ocean doesn't immediately stop the ocean from doing what it naturally does, which is move and flow and create ripples and waves, of which this is one. And that rippling can be, of course, the entirety of the human experience, but with subtler ripplings can be the ebb and the flow of emotions and emotional content. And a lot of that emotional content is entirely natural. And now, a lot of it, when we believe ourselves to be separate, a lot of that emotional content is not entirely natural, because it's based on the belief of being a separate person. And a lot of, and as I said, that's the sole cause of suffering, is that belief. And all the anxiety and the suffering and the turbulence caused by that misunderstanding is entirely unnatural. But once that's seen through, we're still left with a lot of natural emotional ups and downs. And there's nothing wrong with them. They're connected to our natural and perfectly normal fight or flight responses. So, as they are a normal part of being this human creature, just leave them alone. There's a good story in Zen, which I've talked about, I think, in another video, which is the story of the monk with sweaty hands. So there's a revered monk, and his monastery is due for a visit by a local dignitary. And on the day of the visit, the monk notices that his palms are very sweaty, and he thinks to himself, well, this can't be right, because I'm supposed to be this excuse me, this Zen master, and I can't have sweaty palms. It's not correct. So he cancels the visit from the dignitary, and he goes off and he meditates for however long, and he becomes enlightened, and that's the end of the story. And it's kind of left hanging in order for you to inquire about this by yourself, because the story doesn't say that after enlightenment he no longer has sweaty palms. It doesn't say that. Why not? Because these type of natural bodily physiological responses are just that, entirely natural. And so there's nothing really wrong with them, and nothing we need to do about it. So the reason this all sort of ties in, to tie into the question my friend asked, is because she was at a baseball game. She was at her son's baseball game. And she noticed during the game that she was incredibly anxious watching her son play. And this sparked a sort of bit of mental turmoil, in that she thought, well, why am I so anxious? Why am I shouldn't be like this. And this is akin to the monk with sweaty hands. It's entirely natural for a mother watching their son to be slightly anxious. She's lucky it's just baseball and not, Formula One or MotoGP or something like that. So these types of things, the natural anxiety that a mother has for her son, natural healthy anger that we all have, if we're all having this human experience, therefore we're all creatures. And that doesn't mean that you can't be angry at times. If somebody steps over a boundary that you have in place, or whether that be a physical boundary or an emotional boundary, we sometimes need to assert ourselves. And these things just come naturally, and they're perfectly normal, and there's nothing wrong with them. And really, these are the ups and downs of life. This is the spice of life. Just because there is the recognition of your true nature does not mean that you sit around just meditating peacefully all day long. You may do that, but after a while, you'll probably be a bit bored that there's no spice in your life anymore. And so we go out into the world, and going out into the world naturally brings about ups and downs of emotion. So the key is twofold: not to resist anything that arises, and not to identify as the wave, because you are the ocean. So there we go. A little video on a question I had from one of my viewers. If you have any questions you'd like to ask me, please put them in the comments below. I can always make a video to answer them. If there's anything you'd like me to discuss in a video, please let me know. Also, if you'd like to book a session with me, you can do so easily on my website, effortlessbeing.org. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.